and welcome to another edition of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, and I am streaming live from my office at Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy for this midweek podcast, and I am super excited to have Seth Quinto on our podcast. I met him a few months ago in warm, beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. I say that because it's 12 degrees where I'm at in Washington State in Moses Lake and snow on the ground. And I am leaving for Hawaii tonight with my wonderful wife, and we are super excited to be doing that. So I met Seth and learned a lot from him, and he's going to be talking about just health in general and how to optimize your health and some tools that he has to do that. Seth, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Shawn. I'm honored to be here with you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your history, first of all.
My history. I was born into this amazing family with a dad who was the ultimate maverick, a fabulous duo, mom and dad. I'm just trying to think, how do I go from here? When I was born, Dad owned a cargo airline in England that was doing amazing business. We lived in a house. I came home to a house that had a name on 5 acres. You know, it was a real thing. A year later, my number 2 brother was born. And then we end up moving to, where did we move to? Switzerland, France, Italy, Switzerland. Number 3 brother's born in Switzerland. And then we moved to Miami, Christmas Day of 1976, and brother 4 is born in 1978 in Miami. So Dad spends all of our earliest years in aviation. He owns airlines. He owned 2 cargo airlines. And then in 1980, he started a little airline in Fort Lauderdale called Northeastern that became one of the runaway successes of the deregulation enacted by the FAA in 1978. So People Express, Air Florida, Piedmont, and Northeastern became these just runaway. It allowed travelers, right? A lot more options than just the true blues of aviation industry. And this was when pricing fell out the floor and affordable air travel became a real thing. Yeah, it really got the country in the air and moving. So my dad was part of that. And then that failed in 1985, 86. We moved to France, back to France for us. But we moved the whole family to France, learned French in a year. And after a year in France, Dad said, it's too cold. We moved to Barcelona. So I learned Spanish and Catalan in a year. So, you know, cut to the present, we all speak 4 and 5 languages. That's a beautiful thing, you know, in this day and age.
Absolutely.
Where most people don't speak, they have a hard time with one language. So what an honor. And the day my dad was finished with aviation, one of his colleagues from aviation said, Steve, this was like 1995, 96. Steve, have you ever heard of colloidal silver? My dad thinks about it for a second. He goes, actually, I have. He hadn't thought about it in decades. He had rebuilt a manor home in France in the 60s, about a decade before I was born. And stone-cut swimming pool that he renovated as well. This whole place he renovated. This was a magnificent place. And he started looking around his options for filtration, and he wasn't interested in chlorine and nothing else. And he found a little company not too terribly far that was offering a novel copper-silver ionization system. And he was blown away by what he learned from them. And he's like, wow, he pursued it. Go ahead. Installed it, ran it year-round in France. We'll never forget this. At 80 degrees, and raved about it. Sold the house, turned a really handsome profit. And then he never thought of it again. Went off to pursue decades in aviation. He showed us this house when it was for sale in, I want to say 2006, for something like, what was it, 35 million euros?
Wow.
It was close to 2 to 1 at the time to the dollar. So close to a $70 million, $70 million price tag for this house. This place just was stunning. It looked like something out of the Louvre. It was, you know, fabulous architecture. Yeah. These engraved ceilings, the beams. I mean, it was really, really manor home-like, right? Something that would command that kind of money. And he never thought of it again until the day his colleague from aviation had mentioned colloidal silver to him, and that just set Dad on his mind ablaze. They were living in a house on Miami Beach, and he built a lab off of the kitchen. and went out and bought every bottle of colloidal silver he could get his hands on. He fell in with a duo, husband and wife, PhDs at University of Miami School of Oceanography and Atmospheric Sciences, and was able to, they opened up the labs to him and said, here, multi-million-dollar labs, test everything you'd like. And thus began the greatest pilgrimage, to have ever taken place in the field of silver. Dad wanted to get to the bottom of this. And I'm sure I get a lot of my drive, that same investigative need from him. That's him wired into me. So thank you, Dad. I'm so honored. He starts revolutionizing the manufacture of colloidal silver and proving particle size through microphotography. We're the only company that has always done that. That was what led, right? If you're going to do something in business, you got to have things that set you apart. Right. In all of the history, about the time of maybe 110, 115 years of colloidal chemistry, no one had ever gone the distance of proving particle size. They didn't care. I'm reminded of Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes. I just don't care. I just don't care. It was, they don't care. And it was so funny because it was right for us. We are the epitome of care. All we do is care, right? Because of our care, we're the only NSF GMP certified copper silver manufacturer in the world. The world now knows, if you know silver, you've heard of Sovereign Silver. If you know silver in the professional space, you've heard of Argentin 23. Most people don't. Most practitioners don't. They've heard of silver nitrate, silver sulfadiazine, silver impregnated catheters and needles and things like that, right? Because of the antimicrobial properties of the metal. But no, this was a completely new thing for us. And we went and slowly and organically started the company in 1998, went to market in 1999 as a nobody in a sea of 350 different other brands of colloidal silver, this dark little corner of commerce in America with all these players that don't show anything. My analogy to people has always been, you ever buy a brand new car, Shawn?
I have.
Okay. So you go into the showroom. There it is. What's the first thing you home in on?
The color?
Okay, that's the second. That's the first thing. What's the second thing you hone in on?
Boy, you put me on the spot.
No, I know, but it's a beautiful spot because you're gonna love how this story ends.
Well, there's a sticker on it. Maybe the price.
Now you're talking. Oh, so that's
okay.
You're exactly right. The spec sheet.
Yeah, right.
In the world of silver or copper, we're the only company with a spec sheet. So the second thing you look at in this huge purchase you're going to go make, right, is the spec sheet. The first thing you looked at was color. We're all going to see color because it's the thing that's going to stand out the most, right? There's this vehicle, 2, 4, 5 doors, whatever it is. It's going to be something large. It's 3,000 to 8,000 pounds. It's a monolith sitting there, right? So yes, the color and then the spec sheet. How on God's green earth are we the only company with a spec sheet? You want to talk about proof of concept? This is how business gets done. You come up with the concept, you prove it out, and we did that. We proved that we make something so infinitesimally tiny, so much better than anyone else's, so much more powerful than anyone else's, you can't say anything about it. Okay, no problem. We'll let the public do that. Thank you for the First Amendment. People can say whatever they want. Go on Amazon and read the reviews. People talk all kinds of the goodness that they've experienced with our products and any other products. And if they've had bad experiences, they're going to show those too. There's many more positive reviews from anyone with regard to our products than the naysayers. And you've always got naysayers. Are they controlled opposition? Probably. People sent in there to say something bad about you. Good luck. They're going to do that. The third-party labs that have tested our products for the last 25 years have proven everything we've ever said about the products, how efficacious they are, how world-class they are, how peerless they are. Really, at the end of the day, you want peerless, right? No one in the world makes what we do. In the world, Shawn, there's only one Rolls-Royce. I got news flash for you. It ain't Bentley. It's Rolls-Royce.
Right.
There's only one Rolls-Royce. We are the only Rolls-Royce in this space. In dietary supplements, there's not another supplement company I know that does what we do to the level we do it, reproducible as we do it, as only we do it. And really, at the end of the day, we serve humanity. So we make world-class products devoid of any toxicity because Dad got this wild idea to pursue something for a swimming pool 6 decades ago that worked like a charm, proof of concept, and then he was able to redirect that to this decades later. And this was my dad's 5th act in life. He did this when he was like 60.
Good for him.
Yeah, and today in America, Sovereign Silver has about 70% of the consumer market, I want to say, 72. Argentin 23 is carried by thousands and thousands and thousands of clinics across all of North America and Europe. We also have a footprint some places in Central and South America. So we have a nice footprint around the world. But again, it's a life of service. I love what I do. I get up and I come and serve humanity every time I go to work. I educate anyone. I'm potentiating them, right? At the end of the day, you give people hope. You got to have hope. If you have no hope, you've got nothing.
Right. So educate us, for those of us that aren't super familiar with colloidal silver. Educate us on some of the history of the uses of colloidal silver.
That's a great question. This dates back long before pharma, right? Actually, the first written references to silver go back to things as early as Pliny the Elder. You want to talk about old? Look him up. Pliny the Elder. And he was an old man, obviously, the elder, right? They wouldn't be calling a kid that. But again, with age comes wisdom. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, wrote about the finest flowers of silver for the treatment of topical ulcers in 2400 BC. So there's a long, long history. This predates patents by millennia. This predates anything else, drugs by millennia, right? Silver's been around forever. I would posit that were it not for the presence of so much silver in the Earth's crust, it being a ubiquitous mineral, and the fact that we human beings have key receptor sites for silver, 2 of them, embedded in neural myelin tissue. They're not there by accident.
Yeah, right.
They're there for a reason. They're there to capture silver. And where do we get silver? We get silver from mommy in the womb. That's during gestation. We get silver from mommy's breast milk if we're breastfed, and every other source of milk on the planet. Cow, goat, sheep, you name it. All mammalian milk has a measurable amount of silver, whether it's parts per million or parts per billion. It's part of life. We introduced sovereign copper 27 months ago, after almost 14 years of R&D along the way to come up with a perfect product. The body has 14 cuproenzyme pathways. We're all starved for copper. We don't get silver in the environment like we should. We don't get silver or copper as we ought to environmentally in food, because our poor agricultural practices are certainly world leading. No one does agriculture as badly as we do. When you look at how much of American farmland is doused with Monsanto's Roundup,
yeah,
you know the light turns orange, turns green, and no one moves. Roundup brain.
There you go.
I came up with that a long time ago. People just don't operate; they don't think. And then the people got clouded with these jabs, and again, that brain power just went into the toilet. Yeah. No movement. Light goes green, and you might as well be at heaven's gate. We live in a bizarre world. But there are so many benefits to silver. Silver's innate properties are extremely antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and regenerative at the cellular tissue level. Silver is used in severe burn situations worldwide since 1962-63. The brand name is Silvadene, describing silver sulfadiazine as a treatment for burns. And it's funny, it's contraindicated for the face because of the risk of localized argyria. Can't have you turning blue from a pharmaceutical. I was looking for my silver spray. So silver has these wonderful roles in human physiology. We get it from the moment of inception through the end of our lives. Every source of milk on the planet, every source of water on the planet, and the highest concentration of silver is found in some species of mushrooms, some of which contain up to 400 parts per million or more. So when they talk about medicinal mushrooms, I think a lot of it has to do with the silver. The bottom line is you find all these things across a healthy, varied mammalian diet if it's a healthy, varied mammalian diet. But there's lots of things that stand in the way of that. I mentioned Roundup earlier. Roundup is this horrible, horrible weed killer, right? You know what else it does? It destroys copper in the human body. It annihilates copper. And copper is the master general responsible for so many things, the balance, right? The homeostasis in the body. So you saw me with the copper and Phoenix. Yeah. And the copper dosing is insane. The copper is a tablespoon dose. The silver is a teaspoon dose. I'm a big guy. I do a tablespoon of everything I do because I'm 6'4" and I weigh 230 pounds. So my dosing is a tablespoon of everything we do, and I'll do it lots of times throughout the day, lots and lots and lots, because it's like homeopathic. Argentin 23 at 23 parts per million is 0.0023% silver by weight. 0.0023%. It's truly a hair above homeopathy. Goes in, does its job, and our silver, unlike any other,
excuse me,
bless you,
thank you.
leaves the body within about 24 hours. You got more than 95% excretion within the first 24 hours. So there's no bioaccumulation. Because of that, we're the only silver company in the world that has a document from Dr. Dana Flavin, medical doctor, pharmacologist, toxicologist. Every single January, she provides us a document that states very clearly, Argentin 23 cannot cause argyria. Sovereign silver, 10 parts per million, cannot cause argyria. It's a very definitive statement. No one's ever turned blue from anything we've made in 25 years on the market.
Is it because of dosing?
It's a combination of dosing and the concentration, the purity of the product. 99.999% ultra pure silver in the world of metals. That's the purest metal, 5 nines. When we buy our metals, they never land to us without a certificate of analysis. So we know exactly how pure they are. And the concentration. We manufacture to 10 parts per million. So 0.001% ultra pure silver by concentration in sovereign silver and 23 parts per million in Argentin 23. So 0.0023%. Ultra pure, very uniform, nearly identical particle distribution, no additives, no proteins, no stabilizers, nothing. Pharmaceutical grade purified water, devoid of anything. There's certainly no fluoride in it, even though there are charlatans online who post that pharmaceutical grade purified water contains fluoride, which is a patent falsity. Bottled in non-reactive glass. We've also always washed our bottles. I don't know of another supplement manufacturer that washes their bottles before filling.
So is that mainly the two products that Sovereign Silver does, is colloidal copper and colloidal silver?
Yep. And we call it bioactive silver hydrosol and bioactive copper hydrosol because, again, particle size proven through microphotography. There is not another colloidal silver anywhere in the world that proves particle size. Particle dispersion collectively are known as speciation. No one does what we do.
So when would you use colloidal silver over colloidal copper, or use them both in conjunction?
You can use our bioactive copper and bioactive silver hydrosol together. You can use silver and copper together. They're found in the earth together. Remember, we have the 2 key receptor sites for silver embedded in neural myelin tissue. We have the 14 cuproenzyme pathways throughout the body, all of which require copper for myriad functions across physiology, human physiology. So now we're going to get more into the organisms. You think it's more of a virus or a bacteria? You're going to want the silver, excuse me. If it's more of a fungal, parasitic infection or an inflammatory response, you're going to want more of the copper. But they're very synergistic together. They do great things. Here's a great laugh. I tell the medical practitioner community this just came to me last year. I'm going to guess over the last 21 or 22, 3 years, that Tommy Copper Fit, the knee braces, wrist braces, ankle braces, compression socks, right? All these things for carpal tunnel syndrome. I'm going to guess, Shawn, they probably spent north of $1 billion marketing their stuff. Think about it. Famous people on primetime TV.
Yeah, right. Red Favre. Yeah.
To achieve what they did, right? Which is that Tommy Copper and Copper Fit have become part of the national lexicon. In America, most people have heard of those things. And if they haven't heard of them, you show them visually, here's the knee brace. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished to the tune of $1 billion. Okay. Their stuff works marginally. I'm 52 years old. I'm 6'4", 230 pounds. I have knees, and my knees, I've stressed my knees out, and I come down with a knee thing sometimes. I'll pull a Tommy Copper knee brace on, and it would usually take me 7 to 9 days to recover. When we introduced the copper 27 months ago, I started doing the copper, and that got me down to 3 to 4 days recovery time. And then in March, we came up with something called 5x5 dosing. 5 back-to-back doses of the copper. A tablespoon swished in the mouth for 30 seconds, swallowed. A tablespoon swished in the mouth for 30 seconds, swallowed. Time it. Each 30 seconds is longer than you think, right? And as you go down the 30 seconds, they get even longer. Each 30-second dose. But 30 seconds to load this into the capillary system. Load, 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 load. 5 doses, and you swallow each dose and wait 20 minutes and do another 5 doses. Thus was born 5x5 dosing, which in military parlance means perfect communication. It has been 100% successful in turning off joint and bone pain, arthritic pain in anyone and everyone I've done this to since March of last year. So we're very quickly approaching a full year, and that's called proof of concept. I love doing stuff like this. So this is developing a protocol that really does work and changes lives.
Right.
The most reticent case I had, Shawn, was a 76, 77-year-old chiropractor Doctor of Chiropractic at the Florida Chiropractic Association meeting in August. This gentleman was 76 or 77 years old and had just had a complete ankle replacement surgery. That's a big deal, right? At that age, 77. Yeah. The healing is much slower. The bones are much more brittle. There's a whole lot of difference here. I always ask, give me a numeric value to your pain. What is your pain this morning, doc? And he was like 9-10, because that's my threshold is 10, right, usually. He's at like 9-10. We do the 5 doses. What's your pain level? 9. What's your pain level 5 doses later? 8. By Saturday, I had him down to a 4. We started on Thursday. His was the most reticent, most complicated case I've yet had. But this works across the board for everyone because copper feeds the red blood cells. Copper is the master general, I told you, in the body that regulates everything. If we have copper, we're great. And if we don't, we have all sorts of things. Creaky joints, snap, crackle, pop. It's very easy to throw things out. We become much more susceptible to things. Copper is the motor oil for the joints. It's the motor that holds our structure together. We need copper. Copper drives the body's production of fibrin, elastin, and collagen. Copper peptides are all the rage. Go figure. We're all deficient in copper. They've replaced copper pipes in homes with PVC.
Yeah.
Shawn, name me one health benefit to plastic.
Yeah, right. No.
None. Copper has lots of benefits. So we used to bathe in it. We used to wash in it. We used to cook our food in it, right? The water. Everything came through copper pipes. So we had constant exposure to copper all the time. And that has been diminished to the point where now, 80, 90 years later, humanity's consumption of copper in the last 80, 90 years is in excess of 80%. Our copper consumption daily is down more than 80%. You tell me that's not deliberate. Things like that only happen deliberately. This is a concerted effort. But we know this. We've been under attack our entire lives.
Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised.
Finally, that's coming to an end, thank God. So I'm very hopeful for what the future holds. I'm very positive. We're Americans. We can't be stopped. American entrepreneurial spirit is one of the key drivers of commerce in the world. Things come out of this country that don't come out of anywhere else, because there's American ingenuity in its place, right? There's all kinds of drive here. This is the land of opportunity.
Well, people in America, I mean, if you think about how it's founded, you think about how it's still when people immigrate here.
Absolutely,
it's for liberty, and that's what this country was founded on: individual liberty. Right. And so that's why anytime a government tries to stop that, there's a lot of pushback. And in my opinion, free markets and individual liberty win every time.
Amen.
It might take time, but it'll work.
Exactly, and it will always right itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Self-correcting.
So I'm guessing, since it's copper and silver are high in concentrated in mushrooms and breast milk from basically herding animals that eat grass, that must mean that it's coming from the ground. I'm assuming that's most of where the source is, right?
Yep.
And so because of our farming practices, we don't use the natural type fertilizers anymore. That's why it's really not in a lot of times concentrated in food anymore. Is that correct?
No, there's that. And then there's strip farming, right? You farm, but you don't nourish. You don't crop rotate. Crop rotation is how you restore all the vitality back to the soil, right? There's all kinds of soil science. Just like there's good soil science, there's bad soil science. They know the stuff that they're doing is bad. They know it's designed, and ultimately it'll produce food of debatable nutritional value. But you have to understand that's the whole purpose. Look up the Rockefeller lockstep plan. That's how to poison the earth, poison the water, poison the food, poison the skies. Look across history. They've been doing this forever. Look at what was it called in Vietnam? Agent Orange and napalm. Weren't they developed by Monsanto and Bayer? Not Monsanto and DuPont, I think. DuPont.
Really? I'm not surprised.
So, I mean, again, you start to think about these things and the impacts they've had. Do you remember that picture when we were kids of that Vietnamese girl naked running down the road? I don't know if she was on fire.
Iconic picture.
It's one of the most iconic photographs ever, wartime photographs ever taken. There's that. There's the Tet offensive. There's the Khmer Rouge executing someone in the street with a gun to the head. These are pictures in life, right, that we know about. So I go back to the damage done by man. And man's the nastiest animal on the planet, the nasty specimens of the species, right? There's no one nastier. So it's incumbent upon us to rise above. We're not that. Many years ago, I introduced my dad through contacts I had to Admiral Elmo Zumwalt. Zumwalt was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff during Vietnam. Admiral Elmo Zumwalt was the man who authorized the use of napalm and Agent Orange in Vietnam. His son would die decades later from cancer as a result of his Agent Orange napalm exposure that was authorized by his father. So again, you have to look at all these things, the tie-ins, right? There are consequences to things. There's always consequences. It's extraordinary what you learn through life and the trajectories they take. I introduced my dad. My dad had ended up tapping Admiral Elmo Zumwalt to be the chairman of one of his companies before that got discontinued, that project. And that was an aviation project as well. So yeah, there you go. You bring it up.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about it. So tell us what you have a passion for, Seth, as we wrap this podcast up.
Oh, you're wonderful. I love being here with you. Thank you so much for doing me. I love truth in advertising. I love quality. We all love quality things. Proof of concept is something I always hammer away at. You know something's good because it works, right? You can always get our stuff online for a bit of a discount. Sovereign Silver has no match in the world. This was designed with humanity in mind to give you something to safeguard your own health sovereignty with. We don't do anything by accident here. Sovereign Silver was a very deliberate name arrived at by my father, who was determined that we all be sovereign and have our own, make our own decisions on what we're doing, how we're living, the lifestyles we choose to live, how we raise our families, and Sovereign Silver facilitates all that. So I'm passionate about health freedom. I'm passionate about freedom. I'm passionate about travel. Haven't done much lately. I'm a worldwide traveler when I can, but the world's still recovering from the shock of the last 4 years. So I can't wait to get back on the road again and start hitting the bricks and going places.
That's right.
Spreading the message is a part of that, right? It's what we do all year round. So
tell us, if anybody has any questions or wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
You can reach us on sovereignsilver.com, SOVEREIGN silver.com, argentin23.com, ARGENTYN23.com, and sovereigncopper.com, SOVEREIGN copper.com. Our phone number is 888-328-8840. Option 1 is sales. You can also find me. Just ask for me. My name is Seth. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And Shawn, I'm so honored you invited me onto the podcast. I can't wait.
It's always a pleasure. I tell you, Seth, it's hard to keep it to 30 minutes with somebody like you because we have such like beliefs and we can just talk about. We go on so many tangents with what we just talked about. Let me tell you.
Very intense, but short clipped and very informative. I hope for you.
Absolutely.
Audience.
Thank you.
We're always happy to help.
Yeah, thank you for your knowledge and wisdom, and I hope to see you again soon, Seth.
You will for sure. Thank you so much for having me. God bless you. Have an amazing trip. I hope it's stunning, and I hope the weather is really in your favor.
It will be. Thank you. And listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Tune in Monday to our regularly scheduled podcast, 12:30 to 1:30 Pacific Standard Time. Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Thank you.